Let me first of all say a very good morning to all of us and to say how very happy I am to be at the premises of the Lands Commission. I have been here more than perhaps any other agency of the ministry. In fact, this is the first place I visited when I was made minister. And when I visited here, I received the baptism of fire from the youth of La. Today, I've decided to come and have an interaction with the staff of the Lands Commission. And the purpose for this gathering is very simple. It is simple because I appreciate that all the work that takes place at the Lands Commission, the bulk of it, and the chunk of it, the burden is normally carried by the men and women gathered here. I am very clear in my mind. When I had the privilege of becoming minister, I took it upon myself to visit every office at the ministry and simply to say thank you to the people who work in the ministry, and to ask for their support and to ask for their cooperation. Because that's the truth. I mean, you don't get mentioned, nobody hears about you. You see the cameramen are videoing me. In the evening news, they won't show you, they will show me. Yes. But the fact is that you get to do the hard work. You get to engage in the labor, the paperwork, the survey work, the running around, the midnight work to make sure that the executive secretary is able to produce reports, the chairperson of the Lands Commission is able to do her work, the regional lands officer is able to, when I call them, I know the instructions end up on your desk. So I thought it's important that I call this staff Durbar, first of all, to say a big thank you to you for the work you do and to have a conversation with you. A big thank you because you do a lot of good work. I mean, good news never sells. Bad news sells. 1,000 people come to apply for searches, and 999 of them get correct results. If one of them gets duplicate results, that is why we hit the headlines. Lands Commission that. Lands Commission has done that. But I'm not one of those people. I believe you do excellent work, and I appreciate your work. And so thank you very much. My father was a policeman, and I lived in a barracks. And I saw my father every night going for 9 patrols and coming back in the morning and dozing and getting tired. But every now and again, I read headlines. Police people are useless. Public sector workers are this. I don't take that view. I think you do a good work, and thank you very much for that. Now, we still have a lot of important work ahead of us as a ministry and as a commission. You cannot develop your country. You cannot get to the situation of prosperity and economic independence without a robust, effective, functioning land administration which is anchored on integrity. It's just as simple as that. So all the talk about Ghana Beyond Aid, they talk about agenda this, they talk about prosperity for the Ghanaian people and building the national economy. It is simply not possible if investors come into the country and they cannot register title to land and have the assurance that land title is indivisible and indivisible indeed. If they cannot be certain that when they purchase land, they are not buying litigation. If citizens themselves are locked up in the court litigating over land, which is the number one tool or factor of production, if it becomes consumed with inefficiencies, litigation, fraud, and so on and so forth, we cannot make progress. Which is why I made the point when I inaugurated the Ashanti Regional Lands Commission, that for me there's a lot of talk about illegal mining, galamsey, this, that. But I dare say that the adverse consequences of a dysfunctioning, ineffective land administration, which is fraught with fraud and lack of integrity, is more dire and for me more consequential than even galamsey. That's why I visited Lands Commission more than the Minerals Commission. And that's why the officials in my ministry will tell you that my attention is on land administration even more than resolving illegal mining. Because the consequences of a dysfunctioning land administration to the overarching goal and objectives of the government and the country, for me, are more enormous than even the matters that we've been dealing with in respect of illegal. Those are also important, but I just want to situate it in the proper context, that the work we have to do, the work I have to do, the work the Deputy Minister has to do, the work the Executive Secretary has to do, the Chairperson of Regional Lands Commission, the Regional Lands Officer, and all of you, we all have to appreciate that, if I may put it bluntly, we are engaged in Ghana's work. We are engaged in a work that affects every citizen of this country. And which is why I've come before you to plead for your support, to ask for your support, respectfully and forcefully, to support myself, support the Executive Secretary, support officials of the Lands Commission, so that we can deliver to the Ghanaian people, not to the MPP, not to the NDC, not to Akufo-Addo's government, but to the Ghanaian people, a robust, functioning land administration which is anchored in integrity. That is my plea to you, and that is why I'm here. The Executive Secretary is outlined a lot of interventions we have begun, and some of which we are about to begin, which will require your support. The much talked about digitization and the whole effort we are going to make to change the face of Lands Commission, both in terms of the infrastructure within which you work, the tools at your disposal, your general welfare, and the mechanisms, the framework within which the Lands Commission does its work. All of those are going to require your active support. And very soon, we're going to get into that phase. I've just charged the Executive Secretary and the management of Lands Commission to begin to put together an implementation strategy for this effort at digitizing the records of the Lands Commission and generally changing the overall work environment of the Lands Commission. We have, I mean, the first day I came in, I said, isn't it ironic that we manage lands in Ghana, all the public lands in Ghana, and yet we are the most squeezed people when it comes to space. Lands Commission is the most squeezed environment. You have the limited space to work in, and yet we manage public lands. So all of those matters, we say searches must be prompt, they must be accurate, and so on and so forth. And then the Lands Commission official doesn't have a computer to conduct the search. And yet we are demanding good results from the officials of Lands Commission. And then we say we need a very smooth land administration. We don't want litigation in land administration and so on and so forth. And the official who is sitting there trying to do his work to the best of his or her ability is not motivated enough. You have to put your money where your mouth is. And you have to make choices. And we're about to make those choices. And all of those are the gamut of interventions we are going to make, which will not only change the way Lands Commission work, but which will also impact on the welfare of the officials and staff of Lands Commission, so that you can give out your best. So welfare is a major issue for me. It's a big issue for me. And the Executive Secretary has my instructions, and we are working together. The efforts we have to make, both at the level of central government and in whatever we can do to ensure that your welfare issues are catered for, we will do that. But just as myself, the President, the government, and the country is trying to work out an arrangement which will make you satisfied, we are also pleading with you to give out your best. And we cannot play ostrich. We cannot pretend. There are some of us who still have to step up and have to do better than we do. And there are some of the mechanics, there are some of the things we do at Lands Commission which we have to change. And I tell people all the time that there are very little things we can do which doesn't really need financial investment or any special intervention, like smiling, like being a gentleman, like being a lady, like being nice, being professional. That one, I want to strike that contract with you here, that as much as possible, even when the problems are home and there's a lot of pressure, let's try and smile. We all have those problems. I do have them as well. So these are very little simple things which we can take it upon ourselves to be able to bring some change in the system. I believe that the Ghanaian people are expecting a lot from us, and we need to step up to the plate to serve them. Now, I want to conclude on a very important matter, which is that from the very get-go, both at the level of the ministry and throughout the system that I superintend, I made a point, and I want to repeat that point to this durbar, which is that I don't come to this work with any preconceptions, prejudices, or idiosyncrasies. I mean, I don't look at somebody and say, because you are tall, or because you are dark or fair, I like you, or I don't like you. None of that. And I say this in all sincerity. Number two, I've been lucky. I've been lucky because I haven't lived as long as many of you here. So my acquaintances are few. My connections are few. My friends are few. Number three, I was not born and raised in Accra. I was born and raised in a village. And I had all my education in a village. I came to Accra not long ago. So me, I don't have connections. I don't have contacts. I don't have old schoolmates who are all over the place. Neither have I lived here to connect myself with people. So, for instance, in the whole of Lands Commission, every person I met the person since 5th of March this year. I don't know Mr. Dasson. I met him when I went to the ministry. I don't know him from Adam. The officials here, the entire management staff of Lands Commission, I don't know that. I've never heard their names. For some of them, I'm even still putting their faces to their names. Yes. And I can say that literally everybody around this place, all the officials who are assembled here, I can say 99.9%. I don't know anyone who is here. I don't know any of you. So I don't approach my work with any preconceptions that this person is my classmate, or this person is my friend, or this person is my party person or something. None of that. Me, I live by the Akan adage. I judge you based on who you are. And also, a lot of the work that has been done so far, I thank and commend the outgone Executive Secretary who did excellent work, Mr. Sule, who supported me in a great deal, who distinguished himself, and in a very difficult time of taking over and settling in and all the transitional issues, he was excellent, and I'm very grateful to him. So am I grateful to the Regional Lands Officer, Mr. Nsafua, who is very experienced and professional, who did excellent work when I became minister. But there came a time in an organization's life that movements have to happen, just as clerks and junior staff get transferred from Accra to Bolgatanga, and they don't complain. They go and confront the sun and do their work, so on and so forth, you know. And then it's all the work of Ghana. And so I want to assure each one of you here that we work as a family, and there's no ill motive behind any change or any movement. And it's not because people didn't do their work well, or they misconducted themselves in any way. On the contrary, I think those were very excellent officials of the commission who did their work in integrity, who still have a lot to offer. And in the case of the former executive secretary, for instance, he's coming to the ministry as my advisor on lands, and therefore he's going to be overseeing a lot of the work you do here and across the country. And so I want to plead with you and really respectfully but forcefully call upon you to give the new executive secretary your maximum support and cooperation, and the entire management of the Lands Commission, to give him and the entire management your maximum support and cooperation. And in the case of the hottest spots of all the land issues in our country, Greater Accra Regional Lands Commission, to give the new Regional Lands Officer and his chairperson, the distinguished woman who got in to chair the Regional Lands Commission, your entire support so that we can do the work of this country. I cannot take my seat without speaking to a matter which is of great concern to me, which I have a lot of passion for, which is public lands. So you are all very much aware, the framers of our national constitution circumscribe the contours of public lands in our country. And in very simple terms, they construed public lands to be the property of the Ghanaian people. And they vested it in their president to be held in trust for them, the Ghanaian people. And anybody who understands the law of trusteeship will appreciate that the duty a trustee has to the beneficiaries is a fiduciary one. It's the highest standard of duty, which means the president has a duty to the Ghanaian people to protect their property, public lands, which means myself, the Minister for Lands, have a duty on behalf of the president to protect public lands. Just as Lands Commission, which is a creature of the Constitution and which has the responsibility or obligation bestowed on it by the framers of the Constitution to be the managers of public lands, equally has a fiduciary duty to the Ghanaian people to protect public lands. And so the situation where public lands are dealt with as though they are private properties of officials, that situation must be a thing of the past. We cannot continue on that path. And I've made this very clear to the Executive Secretary, and I want to make it public that the protection of public lands and preservation of public lands, or the dealing in of public lands, is one that must be done responsibly. So, I mean, an official is given a bungalow, and before long, the bungalow becomes his property. Those are bizarre circumstances. Those are bizarre outcomes. We cannot have those situations again. Or where public lands are being granted without any regard to future generations and the preservation of those lands. Those cannot also happen again. And I have said it, and I want to repeat it, that I seem to have a big appetite for a total ban or freeze on the grant of public lands until further notice in our country. I have a big appetite for that. That is being examined. And perhaps we may get to a point where we may take that view, take that position, that all public lands be preserved for the time being until further notice. But for the time being, I'm making the point, and that is my attitude, that all of us, from the minister down to the lowest official of the Lands Commission, we must all exercise this duty and this obligation responsibly, and it cannot be done recklessly. And that, for me, is something that we all have to pay particular attention to. So we have 4 or so months to the end of the year, and let us, by the grace of God, bind together and work together and move forward this very important work which has been handed to us to execute for our country. And by that, we are engaged in a patriotic, the highest sense of service to our nation. And I'm very confident that if we work in good spirit and we work with candor and we work with single-mindedness and united, we'll be able to achieve it. And I'm counting on you and I'm calling upon you to give me all the support and give the government all the support, give the Executive Secretary all the support so that we can work for the good people of this country. I thank you so very much, and God bless us all. Thank you.